Hello, everyone. It's Michael Jaco with Unleashing Intuition Secrets. I have George H. Lewis here today. He is an artist, author, astrologer, healer, and international speaker with a passion for raising the awareness of the collective and promoting healing and awakening through the mediums of art, astrology, and sound. George, thanks so much for joining us today.
It's really lovely to be here with you. It really is. It's a very unique time in our evolutionary history, actually.
Yeah, most definitely. And, I'm looking through your work. It looks fantastic. We'll go through that in a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into, astrology, art, and all the stuff you're doing right now.
I mean, I've always been an artist. I think I came out in this incarnation as an artist. I've always looked at the world a little differently from the people I grew up with in England. And I just want to say this to your listeners who, many of you won't know who I am, and don't let the accent suggest something different. I've been an American citizen now for well over 6, 7, 8 years. And I feel incredibly aligned to the whole principle of the constitutional republic, the United States. And I believe we're living in a time of incredible miracle. I believe what's happening, it is deeply prophetic. And I can get into that in a while, but I've been an artist all my life. I've always been a painter. I'm an amateur musician. I work with sound therapy, sound frequency. I put many different types of frequencies, from crystal bowls to tuning forks to Tibetan Bhutanese bowls in and on the body to help move energy so we can align ourselves. You see, what we're really doing ultimately, Michael, is we're remembering. We're reconnecting with our divine blueprint, which has been absolutely decimated from the collective psyche. Me included, I'm a poster child for this because I went through one of those very intense programmed English boarding schools, which is masterful propaganda to go down a certain pathway. So I feel I can talk with some authority about that. And in that sense, it's very American. And what do I mean by that is it's we the people. You see, there are two pathways on this planet, really. There's the pathway of the elite having the control, and I come from that background historically. And the idea that the elites have their own rules and obligations, and then there's the rest. I have a very different view, which is aligned with the United States, is we the people have to grow. And what that means is we the people have to grow in consciousness. We can't just have a few of us having access to the hidden technologies, having access to the esoteric truths, the astrological truths. Yes, this is the thing I say to my fellow Christians, having access to these technologies. Astrology is a technology. My job, humble job, is to share this information so we can ascend towards the truth, towards our true ontology, which means the study of our being. Who are we? We have been so kept in the dark. Now is the time to come in to that divine knowledge and frequency once again. And it's part of the prophecy. It's part of the renewal of the Atlantis codes, if you like. And obviously it's a correction of that. And in a biblical sense, yes, there's a sense of prophecy. But one also has to be aware there's an awful lot of inversion within that prophecy to keep us on a specific pathway towards what I would call as a negative Armageddon, as opposed to an apocrypha, which is an opening of the spirit towards the higher realms, a coming together with our own divine blueprint. And I believe we're on that secondary trajectory. It's painful, but we're going into a newer reality where the collective consciousness of spirituality catches up. Actually, super string theory catches up with the old mystical information, and we become part of this multidimensional system where the body, mind, and spirit is integrated and connected. The pineal gland is open, and we can once again have connection with entities outside just the pure physical.
Wow, it's amazing, George. Yeah, we're very much aligned in a lot of our ideas and what we believe in. I love all the stuff you're doing. Obviously, you've reached a very high level with your own frequency, and you're able to tap into a lot of other stuff, and you're able to help other people tap into that as well. Looking at your website, you have all that information in there, and sharing courses. I'm probably going to do some of your courses too, so they look like they're a lot of fun. So tell us about some of the things you're seeing astrologically that are coming up. We have the winter solstice coming up. We have 3i Atlas is going to conjunct with the Earth tomorrow at its closest, I understand. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing.
I mean, it's a very interesting time we're in. I believe we're about to enter two bookends. The bookend starting tomorrow is December 19th, 2025, with the conjunction of 3i Atlas with our Earth. It's the closest it comes to Earth. But what's interesting, it coincides with a new moon in Capricorn and a conjunction with a conjunction with Mars in Capricorn. Now, for many of you who don't know astrology, what this is in some ways, it's a rebuke and a redefinition of the Baphomet concept. Capricorn is the old system, and the Saturn rules Capricorn in astrology, in the esoteric arts. And what we're showing a spotlight onto the old financial system. We're shining a spotlight onto that enslaved Babylonian system that we have all existed under for so long. And and this is more coming from a sense of prophecy and faith. It isn't coming from, I'm going to say, I look you in the eye here, I don't have the scientific knowledge. I'm not I'm not in the outer space or connected to the firmament right now. I'm sitting as a human being, and I'm a pretty good astrologer, and I understand the sense of prophecy within the United States. And when I see the alignments of 3i Atlas, every time it's come close to one of our planets in the solar system, it's come in at an exaltation. It's come in on the ecliptic, which is very unusual. And it's made these alignments as it's gone through towards the sun and around it, aligning with certain planets at a very specific frequency. So I see the first bookend of December 19th being like a spotlight shining on our system to say there's a better way. And then the other bookend is February the 20th, which is the conjunction of Saturn, Neptune in Aries, on the 0 point of Aries. Now, I know this is technical, but it's important for those who understand astrology. That hasn't happened, a Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the 0 point of Aries, for over 6,000 years.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're dealing with something very, very grand in terms of the precession of the equinox and the fall and the rises and the falls of massive epochs. You know, it's almost like looking through the Vedas in the Indian scriptures and seeing those very long years, and in a way we're looking at it through that lens. When we can get out of our own short-termism, we're seeing not only the end of the age of Pisces, which is very true, and into the age of Aquarius. And what does that mean? I mean, it really means new technologies, a new ontology, new ways of being, new frequencies are coming in. And that, to me, is why they sprayed the skies so intensely, Michael, in the last 20 plus years, in order to keep that frequency through fear. You see, Saturn, and people like David Icke and Laura Eisenhower have spoken on this for decades. But when you keep a population in that frequency of fear, which is the Saturn-ruled inverted matrix, you create the loosh. You're able then to control the psyche. And that's the shadow side of the age of Pisces. We're moving out of that now. And enough of us are realizing that the skies have been deliberately targeted and manipulated to keep us away from the access of the pineal and the pituitary glands, and keeping us eating junk food and synthetic foods, think Bill Gates nonsense. And once we start to cleanse ourselves and drink structured water, something which is very dear to my heart. I mean, I've studied water for decades now, and there's some amazing people like Veda Austin doing incredible work on the consciousness of water and the memory of water, the 4 stages of water. We're not just talking solid, liquid, gas, we're talking plasma. And this then filters into the secret space program and the hidden technologies, which your listeners know a lot about. So at the end of the day, this is the bookend. What does that mean? We really have to do the inner work, and we have to pull away from judgment. So, for example, in the public field, we've seen Nick Fuentes, we've seen Candice Owen, we've seen Erica Kirk, and it's been horrendous. But allow everyone to do their bit in the great reveal. You see, for me, the ending isn't for everyone. That's a Q quote. It doesn't matter really whether Trump comes out good, medium, or bad here. He is the Uranian energy of allowing the collapse to happen. And it's not about idol worship, you see. as we enter the age of Aquarius, no longer will we worship the king. No longer will we worship the CEO. So as listeners listen to me, you take what resonates and you disregard the rest. You find your way to your higher realm of consciousness. That is freedom. And I feel this time at the moment, as we leave 2025, which is a 9-year in numerology, and we enter 2026, which is a 1-year in numerology. This is a massive time for the inner work. Opening up the heart chakra, just talking to your divine wife a moment ago. That's a big heart. That is the Christian heart. That is the essence of the Christ consciousness. And if certain Christians get triggered when we say Christ consciousness, you've got more work to do, because it's the behavior. It's like the knife. It's like the gun. It's neutral. We have to see its application to how we come to judge it. It's like the monarch butterfly in the little exchange we had before. The monarch butterfly has been inverted by the satanic cult. Like so many things, we have to bring it back into balance. Understand inversion, exist it from the inside out, work with the toroidal field, this is the heart chakra, in order to connect as above, so below, the Hermetic axiom. It's fundamental to the Christian message.
Wow, that's incredible. So yeah, I align with what you're saying. It's just very, very strong, very powerful. Great insight. You're putting it, succinctly into, verbiage. I love that. It's a skill. So 3i Atlas, a lot of people have been watching this. I think there's been a lot of suppression that's been going on as far as, what it looks like and manipulations and all kind of crazy stuff. There's a lot of fear that's been spread about it. But in my own remote viewings of it, I see benevolent beings. I see it as a craft. And when it comes close to the earth, it's going to be like another day tomorrow. But maybe your feelings and your emotions will be on a higher level. What are your thoughts, George?
Very much so. And part of it is listening to the energy of what you've just expressed, not just the words, to throw that back to you, is when we do the divine inner work and we see it almost like the child through curiosity, through the light codes coming in, to the ability to co-create with these new plasma energies, these new these up until this point kind of hidden technologies of understanding 0-point energy, time travel, portals. It becomes an offering. It becomes an opening for us to use these codes, which will penetrate and pierce through the malevolence in the lower atmosphere through some of the chemtrails the vast amount of chemtrails that have been done. I mean, this is certainly not a standard comet. And for me, I like the symbolism, 3i Atlas, third eye activation, yes, stimulating the human being on our planet. We are in massive trauma. And I will say this, it's kind of you to pay me the compliment about my frequency, but that is not always the case. We're all very human. My frequency does go up and down.
Sure.
And sometimes, yes, it can be quite high, but sometimes it really is not. And that's, of course, when we get sick. You see, illness, I always remember reading this years ago through Caroline Myss in her book, Sacred Contracts, is when we get unease, it tends to start in the fire, which is the spirit element. The fire is the lightest, the most earth. And then the unease moves, as it becomes disease, it moves down into the mental realm through the air. Those are the two masculine elements. And then it sits into the waters, which are the emotions, the feelings. And finally, it rests in the earth, the lowest, the most inert of the four elements, the physical. And that's when we start to see disease. And of course, the Western pharmaceutical, medical, I didn't even like the word medical, but it's been so corrupted and inverted. Western treatments, because they're not healings, have worked things very much on the physical level and distorting the emotional waters and the intellectual and attacking the spiritual vastly. What we have to do is we have to cleanse those four elements and realize that the unease, when we don't allow that unease, that discordant frequency to come in, the entire body is reconnected to source, reconnected to the Godhead, to the Christ consciousness, and we don't get sick. And I know that through experience, because there was a time in 2024 when I was getting quite sick quite regularly when I was going back to Great Britain. And it was really quite alarming. And of course, friends would say, well, George, you know, it's a very tough place for you because you've left that old culture. But I wasn't able to keep my frequency high, and I got sick. And there's the lesson. So in a way, with the 3i Atlas, I feel if we can sit there, and just before coming on, I did a little meditation, not long enough actually, because even me, I get slightly caught up in wanting to have all the facts at my fingertips. You see, that's too much mental. And so I have a lot more work to do on this, Michael. And that's where, in a way, I feel I can teach it, because I'm no different from anyone else. I just happen to be quite articulate about it. But this is my work, and that's why it's powerful, because it's our work. And that's very American philosophically, is it not?
Yeah, definitely. So it's an exciting time. We're having a lot of stuff happening. Do you think like you're talking next year is a 1 year? Tell us. So we're closing out, consciousness, this dark consciousness, to a great extent, in this 9 year, and going into a 1 year. Tell us what we can expect in this upcoming year.
So I don't really use the Chinese astrology much, but I happen to know that next year, 2026, is a horse year. And I kind of like that with this conjunction right now on the latter degrees of Sagittarius. You see, I love mythology because the myth never lies. And Sagittarius is connected to the half man, half horse, which for me is actually an Atlantean conversation to do with splicing of different gene codes. But moving away from that, the horse is action. It's moving forward with power, with certainty. One has a lot of kinetic energy. And what happens next year, I mentioned briefly, but I'll just elaborate on it. When we have a Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the 0 point of Aries, this is really powerful. Saturn is at his weakest part of the entire zodiac in Aries. And at the 0 point of Aries, he conjoins with Neptune, which is antithetical to Saturn. Saturn is structure. It's the law of karma. It's rules. It's linear time. Neptune dissolves Saturn. On top of that, in ancient astrology, I practice what's called ancient astrology, which is really Atlantean astrology. And the Babylonian system, Michael, have used this in the City of London, in the DC, in the Vatican. You know it, your listeners know it, I know it. And my humble job is just to remind us, the people, that it's a technology, and we don't all have to understand it fully, but we have to understand that it can be used for good or for bad, depending on the person. And so when I see Saturn go into 0 point Aries, that is the dissolving of the old Saturnian order. This is very exciting, guys. This is the disintegration. This is the end of that Babylonian system. They always shout the loudest before the great collapse. That's the law of the universe, is the negative always shouts the loudest, throws the most weight around. It's on a positive level. It's like a woman can get pregnant just before she goes into the menopause. If you read energy, you have that sudden burst before a collapse or a shift. And what's happening here is a slight race against time. On the one hand, we, the people, are awakening to consciousness before the Babylonian system puts down its other new pandemic, which has failed, or its Project Bluebeam, or whatever it is. And because of people like yourself and the community and the courage of those American communities, United States communities, is they can't grab it. And it's not to do with whether we idolize Mr. Trump. You see, I always supported Mr. Trump from get-go because it was a timeline shift. And I look at 3i Atlas as I sense in my own heart that actually it came in to our solar system right far back as Sedna or Eris, which is in the outer solar system, way further than Pluto, around the timeline change of 2016, 2017. That is my surmise. And of course, it's come closer in the last year and a half when we really started to notice it. This is part of the confluence of us, the people, waking up, deactivating some of the negativity and activating the positivity, the connection to the divine blueprint. So in that sense, next year, February the 20th, which is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, is a big one. And then after that, every outer planet is in a different sign. That hasn't happened for a long time. That Saturn, Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, they all move signs. And what's also interesting is Uranus moves into Gemini. And for a lot of people in the astrological world get very worried about this, because the last time Uranus moved into Gemini, we had the Second World War, 1941. The one before that was the Civil War. The one before that was the Revolutionary War. The difference this time is to do with the angles, which is to do with the way the planets interact. We have more harmonious interactions between the outer planets this time, less squares. And so I don't see a full-on conflagration. I don't see a full-on war. There are going to be pockets because of the lower frequency of certain people not able to move into the positive, the spiritual connection to the Christed archetype, and they're going to be stuck in fear. But most of us, we are going to move through, and we're supported, in my sense, by 3i Atlas and other cosmic entities coming in to help us at this time.
Fantastic, George. So I see the beings on 3i Atlas. They're observing. They believe that we're going to reach that level of consciousness, and they're here to help any way they can. Of course, they're not going to push us in any direction. That's up to us to make that transition ourselves, but just supportive. But I think a lot of beings from many different star systems are around us right now. They're cloaked, they're multidimensional beings. They can come in and out of different, dimensional realities. We can't see all of them, but I believe a lot are here to observe us at this specific time over the next, several months and into next year. So when I look at, all of this, and I look like you're talking about all the way back to Atlantean times, and then all of these different wars that we've had, throughout time, I see this is I see this is that one time that we were able to break free and shift higher consciousness wise. And our consciousness creates our reality to a great extent. And more of us are starting to realize that. And we're not being manipulated into lower consciousness levels so that someone else can, create our reality for us. What are your thoughts on that, George?
Yeah, no, totally. And I also like to drill a little bit down into Mars, because Mars, the planet of war, historically, the planet of bloodshed, of anger, is conjunct the Sun, Moon tomorrow, and 3i Atlas. That's massive. And the Mars is exalted. Isn't it interesting? Exalted in Capricorn. And the negatives, you see, have used that energy field through black magic spells. Absolutely through black magic spells. I mean, anyone who doesn't understand that has to work on that, because it's what's happening. 3i Atlas is not only shining a spotlight on the old archetype of Mars. We are going to upgrade Mars's archetype. No longer continuous bloodshed, permanent war. It's going to
feels all over me right now. I totally believe that. That's great.
This is what I'm also feeding off your energy. You're a remote viewer. It's very fascinating. I've actually spent time at the Monroe Institute over the last few years, just a little bit for some friends, and learning a bit about that. And it's so fascinating, because I like the archetype of Mars evolving from war to pioneer. Let's take Mars, and people like you and Scott McKay and many men in the United States whom I've had the pleasure of getting to know in this freedom movement in the last 4 or 5 years, and espouse a very sacred masculine Mars archetype. And what I mean by that is the defender of wife and family. Whether they're married or not, it is not actually relevant. It's a sense of the sacred masculine is there to defend and fight if need be, to defend wife, family, children, etc. And the Mars archetype has been very inverted. And it has to be rebooted, and it's going to be rebooted in a very clever spiritual way, where the sacred masculine, dare I use the archetype of the divine archangel Michael, who does carry a sword. Some of us want to use the archangels as metaphors. I personally more resonate with Gabriel, and in particular with Raphael, the healing, as an archetype. But my gosh, we need the Michael, because without that, no one can stand proud to defend. And this is where what I'm trying to say is that masculine energy is going to be rebooted tomorrow going forward. And so women can become more feminine again, because the man takes charge of the polarity. You see, it's one of the laws of the Hermetic codes. It's the law of polarity. There's 7 Hermetic codes, and one of them is the law of polarity. We come into this world to experience polarity consciousness. And our job is to journey home through that, not to collapse it a la the fake Saturnian matrix of the inversion, the transhumanism, the Baphomet, masculine, feminine coming together, the transgender. You see, it's very negative. I'm not talking about sexual proclivity here. I'm talking about we are born, most of us, some of us, very few, are born both. We're not talking about that, but you have to have that polarity. And once we accept that, we can then work and manipulate the energy, to quote Dolores Cannon, within those. And that's how we create the beauty, because we're all awake and we're all co-creators in it. And there are no more secrets. You think of JFK, his great, massively amazing speech about the secrets and the hidden societies. No more hidden hand. Everything comes up. We're shining a spotlight on. Yes, we have a private life and we have a public life, but we don't have secrets. You see, often I see where it goes wrong when humans have three different levels of segregation: public life, private life, and secret life. There should be public and private. And we mustn't encourage secrets, because the secrets is what pulls us down into the darkness. And that's when we can get blackmailed and distorted. And once we realize that as a collective, never again. And so the children, it won't ever happen again, because really, when you go down to it, what is the big challenge on our planet is that secrecy and perversion toward millions. And yes, I mean it, millions of children. And a planet can't ascend into higher realms of consciousness until that has been brought and shone into light. And it's happening behind the scenes, and it's becoming more kinetic and more obvious as more of us awaken to that reality.
Fantastic, George. So yeah, I agree with you. I think we're reaching those levels. We did away with Roe versus Wade. I've had some people on that have many people that have been exposing, the child trafficking and so forth. I agree. We really need to, correct that, because that's holding our consciousness, our vibration down as a collective in lower frequencies. So really becoming more engaged in, stopping some of this. I like what you're talking about with the archangels. Of course, I've had the Archangel Michael experience, but I'm not completely an Archangel Michael guy. I remember when I was writing my books, I was like, I need some more, oomph to get through this. And Archangel Raphael came in and helped me write my books. So that's one of the things. We can move around in the archangel field depending on what energy we want to bring in. Of course, once you connect with that energy, then you don't need to connect with them anymore. You have that within you, and you can share that. And that's what you do with your work. Tell us a little bit more about your work and how you're bringing peace and love and all these frequencies that we all talk about. But it seems like they keep getting pushed away because of the maybe we're going into war. Everybody's talking about World War III. I don't see it coming, but they keep saying that. Tell us a little bit about your work and how you help people go into that peaceful, beautiful states.
Well, I've worked with sound for a long time. I was a chorister at school. I always tell the story, but I'll share it. I went to one of these really intense, tough, but it was a posh English boarding school from the age of 7 through 18. And I remember when I became a chorister when I was 7, 8. And I think by the time I was 10 or 11, I was putting the boys all boys school, under the church bells, and I was gonging them. And of course, I'm an 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old boy. I don't know what I'm doing, but my higher self does. And literally they go more. And I'd get sometimes into trouble because I was bringing boys up to the tower and we were gonging each other and taking it in turns. And we were all shaking and our spines felt good, and it's very playful. And of course, all of us know about the church bells and how they were taken away between the First and the Second World War, and even right through to the 50s, but particularly with the Great Reset of the First and the Second World War, they were resets. And so sound plays a massive part in what I do. And I've been a pianist, a singer all my life. I've now just taken up the guitar, really in a way, recently because of my desire to communicate in the American way. The guitar for me is, I know originally I think of Spain and the Middle East, but it's so American. Learning some of the songs which evoke, especially country folk songs, I just absolutely love them. So frequency in music is so part of our own DNA, and we don't have to be professional. I would encourage anyone to sing, to chant, to tone. And when you use sound vibrationally, it cleanses you so powerfully. So I actually have created some new protocols, rediscovered, I should say. I've rediscovered some stuff where I'm putting some of my patients now in salt water. Remember, salt water, depending on the percentage, it mirrors the same percentages of the blood, which is saline. And when you put a human being in salt water and he or she floats and is feeling relaxed, and you put the sound metal bowls around, the sound travels better through water than it does through air. And I've seen certain people's spines begin to unlock. It's almost like chiropractic without that. I mean, I love chiropractic when it's a good one, but it's like, it's amazing to watch water, which carries memory and frequency. It does it for us. It's like, I don't even have to, I'm just the instigator. You see, in a way, I'm not a healer at all. I just put people there, and I'm like a kid, and I get you to do the work, and you understand that. And I think that is what's so exciting, is we all can do it. And in my humble way, I'm a decent amateur at all this. I don't want to be a professional. I don't want that pressure, but I'm like the puer aeternis, that almost Gabriel archetype of the more I step into being the light, being it, and allowing it to come through me, it helps me. And once it's helped me, I can help other people. And so it's very multi-directional, bi-directional. And I'm feeding from you, you're feeding from me. And this is what a civilization, a healthy civilization, is about.
Fantastic. Last night we had President Trump make a speech. Everyone thought that it was going to be, a lot of people thought it was going to be, he's basically called out a lot of people and start to move things in a certain direction. But all it was a very peaceful, very nice, have happy holidays type speech. We're doing great things for everyone. We have given the military 1776 in their bank accounts, and it's like, it was just like love. I think he lured a lot of people in that thought they were going to get, some negative and they were going to like blow it up, but he just basically calmed everything down. And you have a very interesting painting on your website. It's basically President Trump crossing the Delaware. This one right here.
Yeah, I did that earlier in the year. I'm actually painting President Trump at the moment, having a conversation with Archangel Michael, which is also quite interesting. Yeah, I look forward to. I'll share that with you when it's done.
I'd love to buy that.
I'll bring that to you first. This is me paying homage to his archetype. So let me be clear here. There isn't for me a sense of deification. I'm very fascinated by Darius J. Wright's work. He talks a lot about the firmament. He was on with Nino, if you remember, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, I've been on a show before. He's an amazing guy.
He's amazing. And his conversation, and you probably can relate to this being a remote viewer, his conversation about the reality of what we call death is so profound. And once we can lose the fear of that, we are eternal beings. I actually think we come from each of our own stars. I actually think when we see all those twinkles up there, I think they're all individual souls. But I don't know. The point is, Donald Trump has an archetype which is very fascinating. And in that painting you just showed, he's pointing towards his astrological blueprint. And he has Uranus conjunct the sun, born during a lunar eclipse. You can't make that up in astrology. That is very much a divine appointment. He's come here to do a job. And none of us, including myself, fully know the extent of that job because we're not meant to. And one could even make a case, does he, the human, know it? I don't necessarily think so either. Maybe if it's connected to Tesla and time travel, John Trump, we all know, Ingersoll Lockwood, there's a lot. But sometimes, like I'm speaking with you today, my higher self may be doing things very differently from just the George sitting here. We are very human. We are in some ways very frail, but there's something that comes in through us. And so he's done a job. He's doing a job. The rule here, the lesson I should say, is we're not here to deify anymore. We're not here to put anyone on a pedestal. The great awakening is the awakening of the self-knowledge, of freedom. And I think of Jesus at the end of the day when he was talking about the Pharisees and the doctrine and all the rules and regulations. He was trying to teach us to be free, to make our own decisions for us and for our family. And we must return to that. And to me, that is the Christed message. It can't be about excessive judgment. And I see this through the language of astrology. So his chart's very powerful in what he's doing. And right now, Pluto's moved into Aquarius. Pluto is the planet of transformation. Aquarius is ideas, thoughts, and we're having a transformation in our ideas, in our ontology. We can't think as we did before. What is the definition of madness? We do the same thing thinking we're going to get a different result. We have to move out of those old paradigms, all of us, and take a deep breath. That's where the spirituality comes in, the inner magic, the inner journey work of being open to a new way. And when we actually do that, it's amazing what happens to the body. It almost takes a big sigh. The spine unlocks, and we're in the ability of reception more, to receive grace from God, the divine blueprint once again. The blockage is gone.
Beautiful. Now it's interesting you painted him there in George Washington's. That was George Washington there. So I've said, and I think a lot of other people have said, that he is the reincarnation of George Washington. And I've traced his lives far back, because we've had many lives together. So how is that something you connected with? I know you kind of mentioned lifetimes, but did that come through for you?
Yeah, my body's definitely saying yes. I'm very open to that. I don't know, because I don't feel my special subject, because I haven't spent a lot of time on it. It really resonates with me. I think the way I'll answer it is interesting, because I remember years ago at Oxford, I remember I met 3 or 4 people told me that they were the reincarnation of Alexander the Great. And I was always very interested to hear that. Now, obviously, those are people saying that about themselves. I mean, someone like David Wilcock, I have a lot of respect for. Now, David Wilcock has for many years believed he's the reincarnation of Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. And I absolutely love Edgar Cayce. I mean, I could talk wax lyrical. Exactly. And actually, I think David Wilcock is one of the greatest. I absolutely adore him. But in a way, it shouldn't be him saying it about himself. You see, this is the challenge with us human beings, is I think it's more of us lean into Trump and see the archetype, because it didn't all work for George Washington in his life anyway. I mean, didn't he die of septicemia or some awful wound, and it wasn't a happy ending? Forgive me, I don't know all the history. I should. Maybe you can shed some light on that. The point is, it's an archetype, and George Washington, I can speak about the prophecy. So William Hope in 1742, in a little room in Edinburgh, wrote a prophecy in 1742 about a man called George Washington, who will one day lead part of the British Empire away and set up its own republic. Isn't that interesting? 44 years later, that happened. And when we have Kim Clement, 10, 15 years before Trump, there will be a trumpet, there will be a drum, and there will be a man who will be a man of God, but not a man of religion. Forgive me, I don't quote it exactly, but we get the point. To me, This is prophecy in real time. And so for me, it's not about Trump on pedestal. This is about the archetype of, what does Trump mean? The Trump card. I actually do tarot. I know most people, in the Christian world will think, what the hell, George? Tarot is they're archetypes, they're pictorial archetypes. The Trump card is the Trump card. It's the Uranian card. It's the Fool card. It's one of my favorite cards in the pack of the Great Arcana, because it is so unexpected. And what you see is not what you get. And that's why it's been so hard. It is such a brilliant archetype. And Trump has Uranus conjunct the sun. So I'm painting him as the reincarnation, if you like, of it. But it's a similar archetype in order to take down the negative powers. And then the problem is, you see, after the great founding of this republic in 1776, in my understanding, it got co-opted quite quickly. 1812 is an important date, unfortunately, that early on, and certainly 1871. And all of us listeners know a lot about the incorporation, as far as maritime law, by the Rothschilds and the banking system, London, Paris, and all that, through the back door. We all know that now. And then the Federal Reserve, the sinking of the Titanic. This is old news. But 10 years ago, very few people knew it. I didn't know it 10, 15 years ago. Yep. So here we are, we're waking up to the great deception. It's being revealed. part intentional, but partly self-inflicted. Trump's playing that part, but it's not about saving the republic. We activate our republic. It's we the people. So it's what Michael Jaco, it's what George H. Lewis does that makes the difference.
Definitely. And yeah, we're not putting anyone on a pedestal. I think that what you want is to see the parallels. You can look at the way they looked up. I've met David Wilcock, and I would say that he has the energies of Edgar Cayce. You look at past pictures of Edgar Cayce and what he looked like. He looks like exactly like David Wilcock. It's uncanny. You can do that with President Trump and George Washington, very similar, physique appearances. But yeah, some of these lifetimes are not easy. Some people are like, oh, I was this and that. And I think there's a possibility that people come in and do a little piece and then they're out, their soul. There is that possibility. That's why we see all these several people that are saying that they were, Alexander the Great or, Cleopatra, whatever. It could be that you're just touching that for a brief period of time. You're actually in that soul. So that's a whole nother subject.
Conversation. Exactly.
Deep, but it is kind of interesting to bring it into a larger consciousness, like we're talking about. It's you're touching on stuff, and some people have said, that's occult information. Occult information is basically hidden information. And like you said with JFK, he was like, we abhor secret societies. And so we're not trying to like make this secret. It's your reality as well. You can see this is a cult. Maybe you have a negative, idea what a cult is, but everything that we're talking about right now is like empowering humanity, bringing humanity to higher consciousness levels, talking about love, talking about beautiful archangels, beautiful paintings, and so forth. I don't see where people can come in and say it's a cult in a negative framework. What were your thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, as you rightly say, occult literally means to be hidden. I mean, the fact that we're discussing occult knowledge in a very public forum is suggesting we're on your side, whoever wrote that. And so thank you for bringing that point up, because we are revealing the reality. And by shining light onto that type of occult knowledge, we, the people, have access to that. I mean, I would love to see in the future of some form of education, I don't like the word education, in some form of sharing of information, the archetypes to be taught, the hermetic principles to be taught, more about quantum physics and the 4 stages of water, understanding plasma. I mean, this is going to understanding the photonic light, understanding the ether. The ether has to be brought back into the periodic table. It was deliberately taken out. Things like that, I think, are going to be very important for us then to take a sigh of relief and not realize that when we start talking about occult, and even if I mention astrology and or tarot, that it doesn't necessarily mean it's negative. As I say, the knife can be used to break the bread, to cut the bread, to feed the family, or it can be used in a satanic ritual. It's down to the application where we should pass the judgment, not on the thing itself. And I feel that very strongly about guns. And coming from Britain originally, my European friends on the whole don't understand that. And we have to be very clear on that, like what's happened recently in Australia, any madman can get hold of a gun. But millions of people in our country, United States, have guns, and they are amazing, law-abiding citizens. And I believe it keeps the crime rate down a lot. But the primary purpose, of course, we know, of why we have guns in our country is to stop the governmental tyranny. Yeah,
definitely. And unfortunately, we saw that gentleman came to America and was at a gun range or something and had a shotgun and took a picture of it and goes home and they arrest him, put him in prison. It's because how can you do that? It's like the tyranny is getting extreme. We've seen it obviously in Britain more recently. I've been to Australia. I was there when they had a very bad shooting. Which many of us have come on and talked about how it was very suspect, that shooting. Doesn't mean that people didn't die, but it's the way it was set up and the way it was promoted and how they took away their guns. And they just had a recent shooting, which is also quite suspect to me. So what are your thoughts on this constant, these shootings and so forth that are probably going to start to increase with intensity and frequency. How do we approach that kind of stuff?
I mean, I haven't followed them in great detail. I do believe most of them are false flags. I really do. I mean, I just have known that for a while, like, even with the school shootings of the past, especially in the Obama era. I just, and I know that in my soul. I mean, I want to always bring it back to where I can help people in different ways, because my area of expertise isn't to give you more information on the shooting. My area is, how do you deal with it? How do you know whether it feels right or false? Is pull into yourself, focus on the heart, the gut, and do your own inner judgment. Use your body. It's so powerful to discern whether you're being told a truth or part truth or a falsity. And just keep practicing that, because the more, it's like a muscle, the more we practice it, the better we get. And we are navigating between, the Christed crystal light on the one hand and the false Babylonian light complex on the other. And it's so intrinsic in order to be the Christed crystal light, which we all have the capacity to be. And I believe this is what Jesus was teaching us 2,000 plus years ago, is we have to cleanse our vessel. We have to use the vessel. The soul has come in for this period of time into the body, and we have to purify the body. We have to be allowed to free the body, and we have to use the body to tune into whether it feels right or wrong. The mind has to be secondary. And that's something I have to practice a lot too, especially coming from Britain, which traditionally is very sort of intellectual. And so this has been a massive journey for me of deprogrammization as well. And that's probably, again, why I feel I can share some of these insights, because I'm really having to figure this out as well.
Yeah, which is, strange, because, Britain there's so many incredible, the ley lines and Glastonbury, and I've been to Glastonbury, and so a lot of places around England, and the energy there is exquisite, but like you said, these energies can be used for good or bad, just like a gun can protect you, or a gun can be used to commit a crime. It's one of those things I think that we need to be aware of. And I love the way you said that, taking it in yourself and ask a question, the sound bowls and frequencies and so forth, the meditative practices. Go into that meditative state when you ask that question. Don't come in like angry and ask that question, because you're going to probably get a negative answer to that. So being in that very beautiful conscious state of mind, which you teach and I've been teaching for years, is very, very valuable to getting the correct answers. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, the inner work is absolutely critical, because I think the Christ message, much like the Apocrypha, the hidden books of say Enoch, Thomas, speaks so much about how we have to do that inner work above anything else, and the inner then starts to reflect the external. It's a bit like in the past we were always told that our biology becomes our biography. That may be true, but I think the other way around is more true. Our biography becomes our biology. How we think, how we use consciousness, what are our thoughts, how we release negative energy. We all carry so much trauma in our bodies. It's collective. It goes back to Atlantis and the great floods, the antediluvian cultures and stuff. I mean, we're all learning about the giants and the vast trees. I just went for a walk here. I'm in Colombia at the moment, and some of the trees are amazing, but I was with my friend who I was walking with, I was explaining that some of those trees back in the day were 3,000 feet tall.
Yeah.
I mean, it's our realm is very different to what we've been told. And I don't want to get now into flat or round earth. I definitely believe at the moment in the firmament, but I will believe in some sort of convex structure. But the point is, I'm open. I don't come here with fixity. And I think that's also very good for the body. So part of the takeaway today is allow the body to soften, to be open to new ideas. Of course, you have to have some sense of identity. I'm not challenging that, but to know thyself is to know the inner journey of what you need. But as far as beliefs, we aren't our beliefs. That's the key ingredient here. I am not my belief. I can give the classic example. If you've met me 15 years ago, I was still very brainwashed. I believed in the monarchy of Britain because that's how I grew up. I don't believe in that now. And it's okay when I meet people who do. I don't get offended. It's just, for me, I don't believe in that. I believe in the sovereignty of the individual primary. And I think one has to earn the respect of leadership. And I think the Chinese called it the mandate of heaven. You have to earn it. And if I'm in a position to share some stuff, I have to earn it. And if I don't, it should be taken away from me. So the inner work is very important. You did mention a moment ago about the old ley lines of England. And I come from Cornwall. It's one of my most favorite places. It's where King Arthur comes from. And our family home isn't too far away from where King Arthur had his castle on the coast of Cornwall. It's more like Ireland than it is like England. And I think the ley lines there and in Glastonbury, as you mentioned, and Stonehenge, they're very powerful. As a result, when you have these ancient ley lines, the darkness has co-opted a lot of them. And so you'll see this, whether it's Giza, everything was shut down, and until only recently, we're learning more about the power system, those Italian scientists who discovered there were vast energy centers going literally almost a mile or more deep underground. I mean, we're talking vast structures here beyond our comprehension. You know, in this sense, it's Gulliver's Travels. We are tiny little beings in a world once upon a time with giants, and we're not just talking 12-foot men, we're talking massive. And I think being open to discovering this is much more freeing than saying, nope, not doing it. That's not good for the body. At the same time, we have to ground ourselves. We can't be open to everything. So I'm not saying, but you don't get offended. So when you meet Tommy and he has a totally different view from you, the curiosity is healthy, because it doesn't mean you have to agree with him. The freedom is being able to, tell me more. And I think that's what I like to teach, because I have found my biological age is much less than my chronological age, because I'm able to accept Tommy's view and be curious by it, as opposed to nope, or even more than that, how dare you? That's ridiculous. I mean, I've had a few of these recently when I share certain things about Israel and the covert hidden hand behind Israel. This is nothing to do with the Jewish people. And yet certain Jewish people, acquaintances, people who don't know me very well, have challenged me on and have got very offended. And it's sad, because in a way they're projecting their fear. And really what we're doing, we're going way beyond the different groups. We're calling out the hidden hand from wherever it comes from and saying we can't have that on our planet any longer. It doesn't matter whether it speaks with a British accent, a Hebrew accent, an American accent, a French accent. It doesn't matter whether it comes in a masculine or a feminine body. It's that energetic has to be called out, because it does not support the human life. And that's where we're at with this Great Awakening, is we're beginning to coalesce around, as we break down the old Piscean age is crumbling. And we're even questioning some of Trump's motives, and even if we can still be his supporters in some way, it's not taken for granted. It's about us, the people, coming into our divine inheritance. And this is the spiritual evolution on our planet. And this is Atlantis remembered, and Atlantis done better, because our consciousness is going to be so high that we won't have the great cataclysms of the past.
Yeah, that's very important, because I've been able to see cataclysmic events coming, and I can say that for the first time since I've been doing this, and I've been doing this for decades, they're not happening. And I've been seeing them coming, but they're not happening. And I attribute this to the consciousness that is rising and deciding, no, we don't want to experience that. So I think that's a monumental thing that we're seeing right now. Now, on your website, you have incredible information. I highly encourage people to go and visit your website. Very inspirational, great information in here. You have courses. You click the Academy, and it comes out with the courses. Unlike join the mailing list, I did. So you want to stay in touch. It's going to be great.
Can I just quickly say, I'm actually having it updated because I'm not very technical. And if anyone wants to be in touch with me, please just email me at georgehLewis@me.com, because one of the emails on the website is wrong. I'm sorry.
No worries. And so, yeah, it's great information. Empower your freedom. So explore classes now. And that's going to be how you get in touch. So
Thank you.
Sounds great. I mean, you have incredible classes, astrology for everyone, and then you have a special package. I like the angelic 444. So that's fantastic. Great work, George. Anything else you'd like to share with us before we sign off?
Well, it's such a pleasure to be on with you. Thank you so much. And I just love what you are doing. The light that you show, bringing in the spiritual side to the religion, is very, very beautiful, very inspiring. And I'm very happy to be part of your greater family. Thank you.
Yeah, you definitely are now. So we look forward to future conversations, and anything you feel you want to share, just let us know, and we'll get it out there and have you back on or whatever.
Yeah, the last thing I just say is, over the next few days, is we go into the festive holidays, the Christmas, the Christmas, which is still connected to our winter solstice of doing the inner work when the lights are lowest, is don't react to the outside events. We can't believe any of us what's really going on. But if we stay strong in ourselves, with our real relationships, with our love, with our friendships, with our authenticity, we can truly create the new earth.
Beautiful, George. Thanks so much for coming on. And I know we had a nice audience. They get real good conversation going on there in their chat. So we'll be seeing you in the future, I hope, and everyone that's here sees this, please share it. This is really, really good information. We need to calm ourselves, like George is talking about, in the coming into the next age.
Yeah. God bless.
God bless.